Welcome, everyone. This is Danny Smith, and you're listening to Wild Seed, the podcast. My guest today is the beautiful and brilliant Jenny Lazo. Jenny Lazo is an entrepreneur, marketing expert, yoga instructor, and shamanic practitioner. She was born and raised in Miami, Florida, to Cuban immigrant parents. Jenny studied communications at Florida International University and went on to earn her MBA. She eventually went to work for Amazon and expeditiously climbed the corporate ladder. After 18 years in the corporate world, Jenny found herself experiencing burnout, health issues, and feeling without a purpose. At this point, Jenny leaned into her own healing journey and began two businesses, Divine Pearl Collective and New Earth Dreamz, where she aims to bring holistic healing to the business world while helping others with their healing journey. Thank you for being here today, Jenny.
Thanks for having me, Danny.
Of course. So my first question is actually about your origins. How would you say that your upbringing contributed to your drive in the corporate world and starting your own business?
I would say that it played a huge role in my decision to pursue a traditional corporate life. My parents, having been immigrants, they were really adamant that I get good grades, that I go to school, that I do all the things and pursue the American dream. And my father specifically played a big role in the way that I've moved in the world. He was a go-getter. He really was an advocate for women being in the workplace. And so I felt that I needed to do my part in making him proud. And so the other piece that I would say is relevant here is not having seen a real example of a woman entrepreneur was part of the reason why I never felt that I could start my own business. It just seemed that my one option was to go to college, get in debt, and pursue corporate America. And I think had I early on been more exposed to the entrepreneurial life, my trajectory would have been a lot different.
What did your parents do for work?
My dad worked for an alarm company, and my mom worked at a factory.
Okay. What kind of factory?
A printing factory.
So you saw them, like, working a lot of hours, I'm assuming.
Struggle bus. Yeah. My dad never made more than $40,000 in his life.
Wow.
But he managed to pay off his house and provide a decent life.
Okay, so you attended Florida International University, you studied communications, and then you went on to get your MBA. It seems like you're on a very linear path, like you just kind of said, and you knew what you wanted. Could you tell us what, like, that process looks like for you?
I excelled a lot during my high school years, and so I was in AP classes. I graduated top 5% of an 800-person graduating class, and I got a full ride to FIU. And so my undergraduate degree, I was really fortunate to be able to not have to get into any debt for school. Although I did not have an option to participate in a lot of extracurricular activities because I worked full time. And so it was very like matter of fact, like I'm going to breeze through these 4 years. I'm going to get this degree and I'm going to get into the job world. And so during that time, I started to learn a little bit more about the importance of having a postgraduate degree. And I knew that a degree in communications was pretty broad at the time. There weren't any like digital marketing or like specific paths to marketing. The communications degree that I acquired like was cross-training me in mass communications, journalism, public relations, and marketing. So it was very general. And so I thought, I really need to understand how to run a business. I need to learn more about the financials. And so I decided to get a business degree.
What attracted you to business?
I just thought that it was the way how I could elevate myself and be different than other marketers with a similar background. I also knew that I wanted to teach. Mentorship has been really important to me and giving back to the community. So when I was early in my career, I had the opportunity to have really amazing women mentors in the corporate world. And I knew that if I had an MBA, I would be able to teach and give back, and also be able to advance in my career a little quicker than some other people.
I gotcha. Okay, and then when you transitioned to working for Amazon, what was your role there?
So the whole story to Amazon is a story in and of itself. So I was working at Ryder, which is the transportation company. You might have seen the trucks around. And I decided to specialize in technical marketing. So I got my marketing automation certification, and at the time there were very few people going through these technical marketing programs. And essentially marketing automation is kind of like the back-end setup for marketing automation tools for email specifically. So essentially drip nurture campaigns based off of behavior. So let's say somebody gets an email, they click, well, they get added into more sales-led messaging. And so Amazon, it was kind of Amazon's peak when they were hiring about 25,000 people a year and moving them to Seattle. And so I applied for this position. Actually, no, a headhunter called me and said, hey, you are one of the few people that has this certification. Would you be interested in applying at Amazon? And I said, there's no way I'm moving out of the state. Like, born and raised in Florida. I never even went away to college because my parents were like, you need to be by us. You can't go off into FSU or any of these other college towns. And I thought, maybe we'll see what happens, right? I had no intention of actually moving to Seattle at the time that I interviewed. But it just, one thing snowballed into the other. And by the time I flew to Seattle, I had a 5-hour interview with Amazon. I flew back, I landed, I woke up, I had an offer that doubled my salary. And I reached out to my mentor, who happened to be my boss at Ryder at the time. And she's like, you have to do this, Jenny. This is like a career-making opportunity. Like, you will be able to leave generational wealth for your children. Like, this is it. And so, my partner and I had a young son at the time, and we decided, okay, let's do this. And it was a tough 6 months starting at Amazon. It was my first time ever working in the SaaS space, so having to learn what cloud software is, and it was a big learning curve. But I felt that it was essentially like getting a second MBA. Like, I was, type A personality people that I was working with, like the cream of the crop. And I thought, it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna challenge me to learn things that other people in my position, in my type of work, would not have learned.
So when you left Amazon, how soon afterwards did you decide, I want to do this thing for myself? I want to be a business owner. What was that process?
It was actually towards the end of my Amazon career. I was at Amazon for almost 5 years, and I'd started to feel that the pressure in Amazon was getting to be a lot more than I could handle. This was like post-COVID. So COVID happened in March. I left Amazon the following year in May. So it was still kind of like people were still working from home, and Amazon was really, I feel like, taking the opportunity that there was this like lack of having to go into the office, so that there's this time commitment in the commute. People were working as many hours as they could from home. Yeah. And I had gotten a promotion, which I had to fight tooth and nail for. And I just started to feel like I was unaligned with the role that I was playing there. What was being asked of me was unrealistic. Being that Amazon is a worldwide company, I was getting emails in the middle of the night, and the Amazon culture is you respond, like you're always on 24/7. And I just started to feel really burnt out. And so I ended up having to take a leave of absence. I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. And during that time, I started going to therapy, and it took the 3 months that I had of leave of absence to actually detox from like constantly like scrolling through my phone and like checking my email to see like, you know, what fire had happened that day at Amazon that I needed to put out.
Yeah.
And then I just casually started looking for other roles, and I found one where I was going to be able to lead a team and have a lot more responsibility in a smaller company. And so I became kind of the big fish in a little pond, which was a lot different than being the little fish in a big pond at Amazon. And during that time, I was able to gain my confidence back and really make an impact at that company. But then I was laid off. And then while I was laid off, I'd realized I had seen the writing on the wall. There was going to be a lot of layoffs coming. It was not going to be easy to get into the job market. And I decided to really focus on what had helped me heal, which was holistic practices like Reiki and hypnotherapy. And I got back into yoga. I decided to pursue my yoga training. And through my spiritual journey of meeting all these holistic healers to improve my health, they kept coming up. They would ask, like, what do you do for work? And I said, well, I've been in marketing. And they're like, oh, I wish somebody would help me with marketing. And little by little, I started putting two and two together that there was this need to support small business owners, and that the skill set that I developed and now the passion for wellness could bridge into a whole new career.
Wow. Okay, so for those that don't know, why did you choose that name, Divine Pearl Collective?
Divine Pearl Collective was born from an oracle card pull. So there was a oracle card deck that I've been working with, and it's called the White Light Oracle deck. And I'd found it in Sedona, Arizona, going through one of my spiritual pilgrimages. And there's this card that kept coming up, and it's called the Pearl of Sharo, which it just talks about the story of how a pearl is the only creature that protects itself in its shell. And as a result of protecting itself in its shell, it creates this beautiful jewel. And just the whole story resonated of how, you know, a creature chose self-care and self-nurture. And that's kind of how we decided to coin the name at the time.
Are you the pearl? Or are we all the pearls?
We are all the pearls.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a pearl in all of us.
Okay.
And so it's definitely metaphorical, but it has taken on so much more than that as the business has developed, seeing all the different metaphors and analogies within that.
Do the people that work with you know that story about the name?
They do, yes. Typically, we kind of lead with like, this is how it all got started.
Okay.
It was born on a mountaintop in Sedona.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's your mission statement that you run your business by?
The mission is to elevate holistic wellness businesses by offering accessible marketing. So much of my career was spent working for large corporations that I felt that I really wanted to give back and actually support small business owners. And there's so much impact that a small business can gain by having more of a structure around their marketing, focus around lead generation, that I knew that it was small businesses were my forte and where I should stick with.
And you work with women small businesses, right?
Specifically women owned.
Okay.
Yeah.
No men.
No men.
Okay. Just checking. I wonder, do men actually like ask about your services, or has that ever happened?
There have been men that have signed up for certain workshops.
Yeah.
And then we've kind of, you know, pointed them in different directions.
For somebody else who can help them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think there's a lot of people that have experienced corporate burnout, but they don't exactly know what that looks like or feels like. So how would you describe it?
Corporate burnout felt like to me that no matter how much time and effort I put in, I wasn't getting the acknowledgement, the appreciation, and it just felt like there was always more and more being asked of me. And it started to feel like my personal life had to take a secondary role to my work life. Even in entrepreneurship, small business owners get burnt out too because they are managing all the different things.
Yeah.
And there comes a point in many small business owners' life that they have to say, okay, do I want to scale this business? How do I do that? And sometimes it's bringing in a resource to even just guide them. Like, how do I create operational efficiencies in my business? How do I reach my network outside of my personal community.
Exactly.
And it's time to ask for a little bit of help.
But what are some ways that you try to reconcile who we are as spiritual beings with demands placed on us by the world around us? Like, I hear you talk about like being holistic and taking care of yourself, but I think we live in a world that's sort of out of alignment with that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So how do you try to reconcile those two things?
Well, one of the things that I try to do is always lead with really good intentions. And so I think the universe reciprocates whatever you put out there. And there's a piece of me that feels that if more people started to lead their business from their soul, because it's something that they're passionate about, because it's their gift to the world and to the community, that they will start to live more in alignment. They will start to attract the clients that are really meant for them. And the second thing that I'll say is trying to incorporate some practices to connect with yourself. And that includes often self-care. So building in mindfulness practices throughout your day, making sure that you are organizing your calendar in a way that allows for a little bit of you time, a little bit of time to invest in continuing education, professional growth, networking. It'll just help you feel a lot more balanced. And so I feel like between leading your business from your soul, adding opportunities for mindfulness, it really helps just bring in this culture and this nature of spirituality.
Is that what you, in your opinion, is that what you think a healthy organization looks like? An organization that not only is the person that owns the business doing that, but they're encouraging all of their employees or people that work with them to do that too.
Absolutely. It's difficult for medium businesses and large businesses to even talk about that, really. I think some corporations like Starbucks and Microsoft are starting to include corporate wellness options, but it's the small business owners that they're running their business so lean with limited resources that often don't find that to be even an option. And so bringing accessible spirituality, mindfulness to small businesses is also important to me.
So, do you also work with, or are you open to work with like large corporations on this too?
I am, yeah. So one of the new programs that I'm launching is wellness program facilitation. So essentially teaching medium to large businesses how to add corporate programs that are allowing for mental health support, potentially a stipend for fitness and wellness, and prioritize their employees taking time off.
How do you keep yourself spiritually aligned?
I have my own spiritual practice that I pursue, and so I have an altar that I have pictures of my ancestors. I have a ritual that I perform just to get me aligned. I'll pull an oracle card deck several times a week to get some divine direction. I also meditate as part of my yoga practice. I practice breath work. And so I try to live and breathe what I preach. And a lot of what I actually share through some of the spiritual workshops that I hold is just my own personal experience. I would say that the single most impactful personal development type of work that I've done on myself has been shadow work. Really being able to look at myself in the mirror and the ways that how I've been with my significant other, with my children, what areas I need to improve on, even with some of my past employees, my past managers, my peers. I try to improve on myself and always ask, like, what is the universe trying to teach me? And like use the triggers, the things that like really irk me, that it's like, what am I supposed to be learning here? Why does this keep happening? And so just being introspective is kind of the best way to put it.
So when you're not at your best, what allows you to keep going?
I just keep moving forward. I try to think like if I inch forward a little bit this goal, even if I'm not feeling 100%, at least I was able to move the needle in the right direction. I tend to not wallow and spend too much time on things. I feel the feelings for a minute and then I was like, okay, moving on. Like this is what I had to learn from this. This is the lesson that, you know, either I released something that no longer served me, you know, like a door opened or closed that needed to close, and it's all part of the plan.
So is there anything else that you would like to share about like your work or your business or your practices that you think maybe other people don't understand and you would like them to better understand about you and your work?
That's a good one. I would say that one of the things that people don't often realize is that if they work on their business by themselves and they don't let anybody in, they don't, they're doing their thing all the time, it kind of doesn't leave an opportunity for like growth in community, ideas being shared. There's so many entrepreneurs going through so many of the same pain points that like being in a collaborative environment where you're like cross-training to other things, you're serving as a reference to other women, just like sending out good vibes in the world instead of feeling competitive, and that there's actually a lot more opportunity in working together versus working apart. And of course we each have to drive our own businesses, but it's like allowing for space to be involved in networking events and give back to the community and offer things that other people might not be offering, so thinking kind of outside of the box.
Are there some people that you work with that have really stood out for you that that you made an impact on them, or they maybe made an impact on you in your life and your work?
Yeah, I love to see when some of the members in the community end up collaborating on something else. And so like seeing like new relationships being built, that really like fills my cup. I think that people that stand out to me have been my mentors, the women that have kind of lit the torch and paid it forward instead of taking the limelight and like stepping on the young woman that comes behind them. Those people have been instrumental and have inspired me to also mentor young Latina women that are looking to advance in marketing. I have a team of interns that I mentor, and so I really feel that I'm truly invested in their growth. I support them on creating opportunities for themselves with networking, and I support them by giving them mock interviews so they get prepared for when they have to go into the corporate world, and also sharing some of my learnings that being in the corporate world isn't anything, and if you pursue your passion, it won't feel like work at all.
Exactly. And so these mentors you have, they're high schoolers, they're college
graduates, and currently in college. So there's one girl that's focused on finance, so she's helping put together like a business plan for Divine Pro Collective, so we can try to open up a brick and mortar business. And so it's a symbiotic relationship. She helps me and I support her, and there's 4 of them, so it's so rewarding.
Oh wow, you're doing a lot. Are you still in contact with your mentor at Ryder?
I am, actually. She and I have become good friends. She still lives in Miami and is exploring her own spirituality, so it'll be interesting to see how paths.
Is she still with Ryder?
No, not anymore. Yeah, that was many moons ago.
So she left. Did she leave corporate altogether?
She did leave corporate altogether. So similar paths that we're on, and we know that one of these days some opportunity of us collabing on something is gonna
maybe land. In Miami.
I know. I've been having like visions and manifesting like being bi-coastal as my kids get bigger, and flying back and forth between like all the spiritual community that's budding and growing over there.
Yeah, exactly. When are you the happiest?
I'm the happiest out in nature. When I get to go outside for a walk, especially hike, that's when I feel like I can ground with the earth and nothing else matters.
Yeah. You mentioned, like I said, some people who mentor you. Are there people that inspire you, or are they the same, one and the same?
I'm very inspired by Eckhart Tolle. So kind of like the founder of this whole concept of a new earth, and how if we were all consciously awakened, how different the world would be. We would be helping each other. We would not be hurting the planet. And so that's been a big proponent in how, that's why my other business is called New Earth Dreamz, if I had a dream to kind of help build the new earth. And also a lot of, believe it or not, spiritual influencers, because I think you could use social media to like let it consume you. You could watch cat videos all day. I mean, like, no offense to the cat lovers, but I consume content. I consume content that other entrepreneurs in the spiritual space share, especially around plant medicine. I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah.
And I feel that if they've succeeded in their spiritual businesses, there's space for all of us.
Do you have any upcoming events that you would like to share that if anybody who's listening maybe wants to go follow you, check you out, support you?
Yeah, every month I host in-person networking events, women's circles for the healing community. And so you could check us out on Eventbrite at Divine Pro Collective is also the Instagram account. So I post all that. I have a cacao ceremony and sound bath coming up. So I'm going to be doing more of that ancestral type of work. And I have a balancing your divine feminine and masculine workshop. So always doing events, always being out in the community. And so
is that every month that you try to do that?
Every month, yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thank you again, Jenny, for being here. And if you want to know more about Jenny, you can find her on Instagram. She already said it's Divine Pearl Collective, or on her website, divinepearlcollective.com. And I think there's a website for New Earth Dreamz too.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, New Earth Dreamz.
NewEarthDreamz.com. And Dreams is spelled with the Z at the end. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you all for listening and supporting.
Thanks, Danny.